Welcome to the SurgeCast, everyone. Quick disclaimer, we did have some technical difficulties along the way, so we apologize for any audio inconveniences you may hear during the episode. Y'all enjoy.
Hey everyone, happy holidays and Merry Christmas from the SurgeCast. We're back this week. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing good. Just busy this week with everything that's going on. How are you doing, Kat?
I'm doing good. A little bit more in the Christmas spirit after 2 wins by the Canes.
Yeah, I mean that does definitely help, and especially with with the holidays coming up. You love to get some division wins and pretty much somewhat lock yourself into a third place spot. So yeah, nothing to complain about. And then you get the Capitals coming up. So yay, more Metro Division fun.
Yeah. And in the spirit of Christmas, because I hope the Canes are getting a little more up and up in the Christmas spirit, and will continue with their winning streak. But in the spirit of the holidays and everything, let's talk a little bit about the likes and dislikes, or the naughty and nice list for the last 3 games against Ottawa, Columbus, and the Islanders. We'll start with the Senators. I always hate to lose against Brady Tkachuk, but it is what it is.
I mean, you're talking about a former Vezina winner and Linus Ullmark doing his thing, and plus, Ottawa's on a 4-game heater right now. So, I mean, it stinks to get shut out by them, but I mean, we shut them out like last month. So, it's you get shut out, we get shut out. There's no in between. So it's unfortunately one of those things. We got goalied. And it was by a Vezina winner, so.
Yeah, I will say, unfortunately, in terms for the Canes, Ullmark was on the naughty list for us because he was doing so well that game. I mean, it was just like you were playing a really good goalie. Anything you threw at him, he was going to save at that point. Not saying the Canes played super well, but you were playing against a really good goalie. So if you're not playing the top of your game, you're going to get goalied. The power play was also on my naughty list. It was 0-2. And our face-offs, we were not winning quite as many face-offs as what we're accustomed to. So I would say those are all the things on my not, and on top, the ones that I hope get the most coal are the refs. Honestly, it was atrocious, like more than usual, but
yeah, that was a lot of stop starts. It was just, there was no flow to that game. And I mean, the face-off percentage, yeah, when you don't have Jack Drury who's leading the team in that category, yeah, we'll suffer a little bit, even if you have Jordan Stahl doing his thing.
I also feel like our main ones get waived out quite a lot. Our main guys get waived out of the face-off percentage quite a lot. So
we do. I would love to see the statistics of how many times the Hurricanes get thrown out of a face-off circle almost every game, because it seems like it's always us. And yeah, another naughty list thing is refs just drop the puck. I'm so sick of them dropping and then having to blow it and then restart it. Like, let's just get going. No one cares about you in your fake drop.
Well, especially when it's either that or it's like the ref like halfway down on the other side of the ice blows the whistle to stop something, and it's like he's doing it because players are like itching towards the puck, and it's like, well, if you drop the puck, then this wouldn't even be an issue. Just drop it and go.
Yeah, so. No, definitely for sure. I mean, just overall that game. I mean, and the thing is, you can't. Maybe one of those goals you could put on Pyotr Kochetkov, but other than that, I mean, what are you going to do with the first Shane Pinto goal, where it's bad clearings? He's in the slot. He just basically turns around and just whacks it, and Pyotr was just not ready for it. I mean, what goalie could be when you're spinning around and slapping the puck like that? The second goal, yeah, maybe you would want that back because it was 5-hole, but you also don't have your defense let the guy just walk into the slot right in front of the net and scoring a goal as well. And, of course, an empty net goal is an empty net goal. What can you really do? It's just, I wouldn't put that game on Pyotr. I would say it's an overall, the offense just dried up. Defense led in some very bad plays, and there was very bad zone clears.
Yeah, and of course, you just see that late push by the Canes.
Their thing is just.
Yeah. You see the late push by the Canes where it's like they start pretty good in the first. The second goes down a little bit. You can see it in their shot count. And then the third, they pick it back up because they're trying to get back into the game. And like, while we've been the comeback games before, it can't be a consistent thing.
No.
So
you can't,
unfortunately,
you can't do that. No.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there wasn't much I had on my nice list about that game.
I mean, some guys were putting in some great efforts. I mean, Marty Nietzsche, Seth Jarvis, the Jordans, Carrier. I mean, you had some guys who were the usual suspects of, hey, we're going to try. And I even said it too that night, you cannot rely, while he had you can't rely on Marty Nietzsche's to one-man show your way out of a problem. Like, I think he played a great game, even like while he didn't, obviously no one scored a point. He was visible. At least you see what he's been doing all season. That's why he's been consistent. But yeah, It's just him, Jarvis, the Jordans, Carey. It's the usual suspects of doing their jobs. It's just everything they threw on the net wasn't going in. Allmark did his thing, and that's like you really say. Yeah, the nice list is very small. Other than, hey, there was some effort for the most part. Yeah, and just once again it's just like we've seen the last couple seasons, the second period, it's like they take their foot off the gas and it's like, okay, now we're gonna eventually pick it up, and by then Rod's just kind of like, come on, what are we doing here? So,
yeah. So moving on from the Ottawa game, we're just moving past it because it was probably should have won, but you got goalied, you didn't play your best. Like we said in the previous podcast, listen, you're supposed to win these games. If you play Carolina hockey, you probably are going to. They didn't play Carolina hockey, or at least didn't play a full game of it, and they got goalied. So moving on to the Columbus games, the top of my nice list is these lines. The lines have been moved to exactly what I was hoping they would be. Honestly, I had Robinson and Svetch switched, but I'm not mad about what they are because they've been working really well. You finally get that Martinook, Stahl, and Carey line back together. It's literally nonstop shoving that puck down your throat. You're not having a moment of peace on the ice. And the puck, even if it gets to our side of the ice, they're such a defensive squad that nothing's going to happen from it. Whether you beat Martinook down there, he's going to get down there and he's going to put his full body into it and back check like there's no tomorrow. So honestly, they just bully the other team anytime they're on the ice. I'm so happy they're back together. I'm not saying Jarvis isn't good with the Jordans, but Carey has just proven that line, if you have the three of them, honestly, we were sitting in the stands and we were like kind of weighing, like, if you had to get hit by one of them, which is the least awful. And we decided on Martinook. It was probably Martinook, then Stahl, and then Carey, just because Carey has a little bit of viciousness to his. Stahl is just gigantic. And then Martinook, he might at least laugh when he hits you, but it's kind of picking the least of the evils, like picking which one you'd really want to match up against. But they've been rewarded for their chances, and I love seeing it. Like that Stahl's getting some assists. Martinook and Carey are getting rewarded from being in the right spot in the right time, and just honestly just pushing into the net. That's the top of my nice list. Yeah, I mean, it helps too that when you got Jordan and you got the Jordans have their sons on the ice, gives them a little bit of an extra boost, which you saw because they were flying. That was super cute early in the game too. So it was. I mean, hey, you'll take a multi-point night from two of your captains on the team. Of course, like you said, Stahl with 2 apples. Martinook with a goal and assist. He's up to 8 goals in the season, so you love to see that. Of course, Carrier adding his weight as well. I mean, yeah, just an overall great game by the Kings. I mean, yes, it's against Columbus, but I mean, that's a game you're supposed to win. While the power play did go over, you're still talking top 5 in the NHL, and of course, they really proved it in the game against the Islanders, but we'll talk about that later. But I mean, how about the penalty kill though? You had a 4-minute penalty, and you killed it off, and you go 5 for 5. Oh, and you also got a shorty. Yeah, because that's the other part of the line. I mean, that's what you can't be upset about that. Yeah, that's the other part of the line. You'll gladly take a 5 for 5, and you get a shorthanded goal. Yeah, that's the other part of the lines. Great. You got your other assistant captain and Aho scoring Again, thank you. Where he put Aho and Jarvis back together. Mwah. And I thought I had Swetch up there, but honestly, I'm not mad about Robinson because Robinson, again, he kind of complements anyone he's with because he's got the speed and he has the physicality, and he's shown that he can kind of connect with anyone you put him with. So thank you for putting them back together, Rod. And I will say they kept them together this last game. And we'll talk about that in a second. But getting all of your captains in on the scoreboard. And I'm not super unhappy with the power play. Like, yes, you want the power play, but honestly, we've had the power play cash in on days where we can't get a 5-on-5 goal. So for us to get even strength goals or even shorthanded when the power play just gets a little bit off for the night, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
If you can score the rest of the ways, I'm fine if the power play has an off night. For the last couple of games, our power play seemed to carry a little bit more than our 5-on-5. It's just like a give and take, just like the lines where one player might be a little bit hot currently and the other player is struggling, and then it might switch, or like one might have a hot game, one might not. So yes, love the lines top of the nice list. Second top of the nice list. I mean, look at our new goalie. I mean, I love seeing him. I don't want Canes fans. Okay, we're gonna get really excited, of course. It's a new face in goal. He did really well. Listen, we also were enamored by Martin at first, and we just always have to keep that reality check of this is a goalie that is supposed to be your support. He came in, he played his game, he played really well. First of all, he's also very small for a goalie. Interesting. If you saw him in net, you could be like, wow, this guy's, and he's 6 foot, which is funny to say 6 foot is small. But in net, compared to like Olmark on the other end, it was just, or not Olmark on the other end.
Merzlikens.
Yeah, it was just interesting, like the little bit of size difference. But he was very fun to watch. I love to see a new face, and he had an NHL experience, so I don't think he came in with nerve. I mean, he might have nerve as a new team and stuff, but you could tell that he was like, I'm going to play my position. I'm good to go. And whenever he gets back playing like another game for us, I beg everyone, watch him get in his ready stance, because it's the funniest thing. He literally all of a sudden gets into like this crouching spider. Like, I know all goalies get low, but his stance is low and wide, and it's so entertaining to watch him go from standing to immediately into this crouch position. It was very fun.
I mean, his nickname is Tick, so it kind of makes sense. And if you look at his career overall, like, you see that this guy like wins wherever he's been. Like, won a Memorial Cup with the Spokane Chiefs, second season in, and that's after being out Darcy Kemper for a job. Like, yeah, that's saying something. You beat out a guy who's a regular in the NHL now in Kemper. You go and win 2 Calder's in the AHL. One of them is with the Checkers after having a 7-0 record and a 1.14 goals against. So you're talking, he's already been with the organization once, and he's done it in the Checkers. And now he's with the Canes again. And you saw what he did in Chicago, 5 games, 4-1. A really sub 1.5 goals against, 2 shutouts in his first game. And he comes in, he hasn't played an NHL game in 22 months. I don't care what team's in front of him, even if it's Columbus, you still go out there and you have a you have a .96 goals save percentage. You give up 1 goal. Talk about coming in and doing your job. Like, that just tells you, like, he's someone who's just ready to go. And I keep hearing all the time about him. He wins wherever he goes. So, I mean, well, you put it's just good to have a solid backup goaltender that you can use when need be.
So is that the reason? So I saw his name was Tick. I saw they called him Ticker. And then I saw they say Ticket. Is that the why? Is because of how he stayed, like his crouch? Is that why it's called Tick? I was trying to figure out how Tick came from Tokarski. I was trying to figure that out. And to be honest, he does kind of look like a Tick when he gets into a set position. I swear, you guys won't be able to unsee it if you watch it again. But I was trying to figure out where the nickname Tick came from.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also Tokarski as well.
Okay.
When you think of Tokarski, like you can kind of get Tick. And plus, he puts Tick on it, like the superhero, the Tick, on his helmet too. So it's just something that he's had for a long time.
Okay, that's really fun. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He if you look at past helmets, he has that superhero Tick on his helmet somewhere. So yeah, that's just the nickname they've given him, and he kind of rolled with it. So yeah, it's definitely funny to get, like, you get Ticker, but then it's actually Tick. But yeah, no, it's if you look at his career, it's very fascinating of just where he's been and everything he's had to deal with just to get where he's at. Honestly, he's one of those guys where it's like if you gave him an actual shot, he could win you some games. It's just, going through Buffalo and all these other teams beforehand. It's one of those guys that if you give him an extra 2 inches to his body frame, he's probably an everyday NHLer. It's just because he's like you say, he's 6 foot. No one gives 6 foot goalies a lot of chances compared to guys who are like 6'2", 6'4", 6'6". But yeah, he's won wherever he's gone. He's won in midgets, WHL, AHL. This guy wins games. He wins championships.
Again, though, if you watch, I'll keep saying it because it was just so interesting to watch. Compared, like we've watched Pyotr, we've watched all of them, but to see a new goalie and how they stand, like we're already looking at
his mannerisms.
He had new pads, but his mannerisms, like you could see, Mrazek always looked like he had a little bit of like an interesting, not like a tick, but he would always like shift his goalie mask and kind of move and like. So every goalie, again, goalies are weird. So to watch this guy, he makes up for his size though. Like you might be like a little bit nervous maybe about some high shots because again, he's 6 foot. So when he crouches down, the top of the net seems a little bit more open than it would with guys that are over 6 foot. But when he gets down, he covers a good amount of that goal because he makes sure he gets low and he gets wide. So I'm really interested.
It's the preparation. It's his preparation and how he sets himself up to get in front of pucks. It's very fundamental, like proper way of like he knows that he's not gonna be the tallest guy, but he's gonna find ways to put himself in front of the puck enough to where you're gonna have to put it in a good spot to get past him. And like you said, debut went for the Canes 4-1. Gladly take it. Now, how many games we see out of him? All depends. We do have a couple back-to-backs coming up at the end of the month, so
you
get at least 2 more out of him.
Yeah, you only got beat by a goal, literally a guy sitting wide open right in front of him that just hit it in before he could even get down and get set and save. So, like, what are you going to do on that? Honestly, it's as close to a shutout as he could have gotten. So I think he played fantastic. I think he is a great option as we're getting into the next game with the Islanders. I think he's a great backup. And I'm not saying Martin wasn't. Honestly, unfortunately for Martin, I feel like it came at a time where he had to be number one for a little bit, and that wasn't really his role. I honestly don't know how Tokarski would have done in that situation either. It was just unfortunate because Pyotr was out and also Freddie was out. I think it'll be really helpful because I think days off for Pyotr are very helpful to him in multiple ways. Yeah. And we'll talk about that here now as we talk about his shutout, his 9th career shutout, right?
Yes, 9th career. Ninth career first of the season. You see how he's been. Like last year, he played a good majority of the games, even with with Ronta struggling and Martin coming up while Anderson was out. And same thing once again. Like he's the only goalie playing double-digit games so far this season. He's now it's like 13 wins. I'm not sure what his losing record is. I'm not off the top of my head, but I know it's single digits. You're talking about a guy who's well over 900 on the save percentage. His goals against is well below, I think it's like sub 2.7. So you're talking about a guy who's been playing decent hockey. And I think the save percentage is just a misnomer because when you're saving 20 of 22 or 20 of 23, your save percentage might look sub 900, but I think that's kind of like, okay, but what are you looking at in terms of the shots that you're seeing? And if you're only getting like 23 a night, well, if you give up three, what can you do there? So I think is where he has in terms of goals against averages, which is really good, all things considered. And you look at, the 247 goals against, the 902 save percentage. Like, what more can you ask out of this guy? Like, that's just how great he's been playing, and you saw it against the Islanders. Yeah, the Islanders did beat us. Of course, it was a very weird game where you gave up 4 goals in the second period because you let them beat you in the transition game. And this is the thing that I talked about on a previous show is if you control the neutral zone and you get the crowd into the game early, I think that's a big factor going against an Islanders team that's pretty much struggling. And you saw that. I mean, you guys were there. The crowd was into it early because you got 2 goals in the first period from Svechnikov and Martinuk. And the fact that too is you neutralized the neutral zone essentially because you didn't let them beat you in the transition game that you saw when you were on Long Island, and you used it to your advantage because then you saw the Hurricanes also beat them in transition. like Jacob Slavin, Brent Burns, like they were beating Islanders players in a transition game. That really tells you something when even Jacob Slavin, who's not known to be the fastest guy on the team, is beating you in the transition game. And you saw that even, later on with Aho and Robinson. Like, talk about perfect tic-tac passing. A beautiful give and go. And of course, you got to give flowers to Jacob Slavin on that, like being able to move up the way he did to set that up. It was just a transition that worked. So that's what the Hurricanes did, was use the transition game that the Islanders killed them on in this game, and you shut them down. So that was a big factor, honestly. And like you said, Pyotr was just locked in from Jump Street while he's throwing a stick in the air, and of course other things we're going to talk about later on in that third period. But yeah, he just 10-bill saves, but the Hurricanes weren't giving them a lot of opportunities either, though. But when they had chances, Pyotr was right there taking care of business. Yeah, that was probably the most dialed in I've seen him in pretty much all season. But even then, though, in other games he's been playing really well. It's just this one you could tell that that was different. Tuesday night was a very different game. That was peak Hurricanes hockey Tuesday night.
It was Pyotr playing Pyotr hockey, but also the craziness that from him, but also the dialed in what you want to see from his saves. So you're getting extremely good saves, very on top of his eyes were on every puck. He was ready for all of them. Even if there's a little bit of rebound, he was right there and he was able to redirect it. But you also get Pyotr throwing his stick in the air, which is hilarious because he was like, we don't talk about my stick. And then you also have him coming way out. And of course, everyone in the building was like, oh no, not again. Yeah,
that was definitely something to where it's you literally felt the entire arena, everyone's stomach just clench really hard in that aspect. But it was funny to listen to Buchagras and more so Kevin Weeks is the fact that Weeksy multiple times called Pyotr Dominic Hasek-esque on a lot of those saves. That tells you how dialed in he is, that he's going old school Hasek level type moves. But of course, how can you not love Kevin Weeks? The guy's a legend. It's good that we got him to call part of the game too. But he was just on it outside of your heart almost stopping at least 3 times in that game.
Yeah, it was a mix of please don't get hurt, please don't ruin your own shutout. It was a whole thing because you're we're doing so well, we can't have an injury, please no. So, but again, I just love. Again, he had his quote. We always live for the Pyotr quotes, but of course, with his quote about his stick is okay. I have a couple ideas about this. I think okay. Oh no, it wasn't the stick one. He did have his quote about his stick.
No, this was him getting out of the goal.
Yeah, it's about him getting out of the goal, and it's about him for the shutout as well. Is okay. I have a couple ideas about this. I think okay, just fucking stay in net, relax, fucking do your job. The fact that he himself is I know I need to stay in the net, and yet still goes out. And you're no, you're even already aware that we don't like it when you do this. So overall it was a great game by the Canes. I love that first goal by Svech. It was such a power forward type of goal. That's what we wanted to see. He had a very complete game. He had a couple of other good chances. Of course, the third line, or as Rod Brindamore, ESPN asked him about it, and he goes, "What number line is that? I don't know what you're talking about." And he goes, "Okay, we'll say this."
That's my first line. That's my first line.
Yeah, so
that's my first line.
I love that they played their same. They were on top of it again. And then interesting enough, of course, yes, Aho had some assists, but honestly, I think his line was a little bit quiet. And I actually think that was probably in his time as a Cane. I think that was Robinson's worst game that I've seen. Not that he played bad. He was just normally so consistent and kind of has a consistent rate of play that he was a little bit off this time, but the game, he still got an assist, and he still the team was playing so well. You couldn't even notice when guys had a little bit more of an off night than they normally do. I'm just saying it because Jarvis was quiet. He was there. He was doing all the right things, but maybe it wasn't he really needed to come in and score and save the game. That he was all right, I'll play defense. I'll just get the puck up there. We're good. But yeah, a quiet-ish night from that first line. The third doing their work the whole time. Honestly, I keep saying the numbers, but of course it's just based on how they're listed on the piece of paper. But the fourth line with Jost and Blake, honestly, I think they had a lot more ice time. I think Rod was putting out them a bit more because they were also very dominating. But it was just great to see, like, honestly, all of the guys were on top of things. And the Islanders pushed back. Like, I will say they didn't play super well, but the beginning of that second, they pushed back. And to see the guys kind of withstand that and then actually come back and score 2 more goals, whereas normally in the second we have struggled, was like a breath of fresh air, because you're like, okay, maybe we're starting to figure things out after this slump. And it was really nice to see.
Yeah, well, and the thing that Rod even mentioned during their mid-game interview, which of course ESPN does that, right? That's still a whole different thing. There was that one right before that, the Hurricanes went 16 minutes without a shot at the end of the first period and part of the second. And Rod said, like, they kind of took their foot off the gas, but we're kind of getting back into our game. And like, not that long after, Rod said, hey, we're getting our legs back, we're figuring our game back out. Immediately 2 goals. Like, you can tell that like they took off a little bit after going up 2 goals, but then it's like, okay, well, we need to play a full 60. We can't let the second period get away. And like you said, luckily it didn't. They scored 2 more. You're up 4-0 after 2. But that's just the weird thing with the Hurricanes, is the fact that you're up 2-0. Then you let the Islanders pretty much dictate the rest of the first period, even part of the second. Like, going 16 minutes without a shot, that's not great. So I mean, that's probably my one naughty list or negative thing was. You can't go that long without putting a shot on net. Like, that's kind of not when you're used to a team like the Hurricanes putting up 35, 40 shots a game. You're kind of used to them peppering almost all game. That was a weird stretch, but hey, you got out of it. You still stayed up 2-0, then you got 2 more later in the period. That's all you really asked for. You played. That was probably that back half of the second period is probably their best second period in a while, so you'll take it. So it's just, but yeah, they have to stop this. We're gonna just take off a little bit and then kick it back into gear later. You just can't do that. I don't care if it's against the Islanders. I don't care if it's against the Sharks, or even if it's against, let's say, the Jets. This is not a league where you can. We'll take a step back for a little bit. We'll take our foot off the gas a little bit. You can't. Not in this NHL. We can clearly see that anyone can beat anyone. The worst team in the league, the Nashville Predators, beat the New York Rangers twice in a span of 10 days. If they can beat a team like that, you just can't do that. So actually, that's probably my one negative is like, and Rod said it a lot this season. They have to stop getting complacent in certain situations. Yeah, the power play's clicking. Okay, well, we can just take a step back. No, keep going. Keep your foot on the gas. Stop letting these teams stay in games. Put them away. And luckily they did after they got through that 16 minutes of going, all right, guys, like to get a shot here at some point. So it's just my one takeaway is you just keep full 60 minutes. I know it's tough to do every single night, but unfortunately, that's just not how this league is anymore. There is no off nights. Even for 10 minutes, you can't do that.
I will say it's really nice to see also on the nice list of things. Our stars are starting to get back into being stars. Svetch is starting to get on the board more and more. Aho's getting more on the board as well. He's connecting with Jarvis. He's connecting with Robinson. Again, keep that line intact just because you're getting some production out of Aho. You like more than just assists. And that's great to see. You can see he's starting to have that shoot first mentality again. I'm not mad about moving Razovic down to that quote unquote fourth line, because that fourth line they were doing great as well. He was playing just as well with them. Maybe he's not getting those like numbers that he was getting earlier in the season, but like, let's be honest, recently he hasn't been anyway. So no matter, even if he's on the top line. So I like where we are. I really hope these lines stay through this next upcoming some travel games, and then the last game at home on the 28th. But speaking of, let's talk about our upcoming games. We've got the Capitals, Rangers, and Preds preview. But first, again, it's that time of year where everyone could use a nice little holiday deal. So a quick word from our sponsors.
Nothing like watching the Canes live and in action at the loudest house in the NHL. You can get tickets for that or concerts or shows through Gametime. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of seats. The upcoming game versus the Devils, December the 28th, the return of Brett Pesce. Right now, the super deal on Gametime, section 121, row X, all-in pricing, $293. What a super deal that is. Whether it's all-in pricing, seat views, lowest price guarantee, Gametime ticket coverage, Gametime has you covered. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime Picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. The 24-25 NHL season still has that new car smell, and the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Our OG sponsor, Primo X Hockey. Whether it's apparel, bags, goalie gear, jerseys, you name it, Primo X. Yeah, even a couple buckets for you. Primo X Hockey has it for you. They are located here in Raleigh, 1401 Diggs Drive, Suite E. Monday through Friday, they're open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Even have availability and times open on the weekend from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday and 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday. So for local pickup, save 20% with code in-store pickup online. How about that deal? Also use code SurgeCast for 20% off your Sebastian Aho deals as well. So even skate sharpening, $5. How about that deal? Primo X Hockey, they have all the hockey gear to get you right for the season.
And we're back. I hope you guys take full advantage of all of those deals from our sponsors. Again, it's great to either have discounted tickets as a great Christmas gift or even some hockey equipment or things as shop local, of course. Again, we're so thankful for all of our sponsors. They make this time of year and all the kind of all during the year a great time to get anything hockey, even if it's just betting on hockey. But of course, now we got to talk about our upcoming games of the Capitals, Rangers, and Predators. What are you thinking here, Zach?
Well, I mean, before we get into that, we didn't really get the chance to talk about it before, but I think you're talking about giving presents. How about Martin Necas giving us a great present this year of how his play has been? And, 44 points in 31 games. If you look at his current pace right now, even if he stays at 1.46 or even a 1.4, if you extrapolate that over an 82-game season, you're talking 120 points. That might not win you the points race for the NHL, but if you look at the overall Hurricanes franchise record, since relocation, there's only been one guy who's got 100 points now is Eric Stahl. That's the Hurricanes record. But if you're talking Whalers Hurricanes, the record is 105, which was set back-to-back seasons. You're talking 79, 80, 80, 81. Even if Marty Necas goes to a 1.3 points per game average, you put that over an entire season, that's still 106. We are witnessing what could be a record season points-wise for any player in franchise history. Even if it's between 106 and 120, I mean, we've only seen one guy do 100 once. This is probably one of the best seasons that we're seeing out of any Hurricanes player, and I don't know how you could not be excited for what we could potentially be watching a historical season, just for at least one individual Hurricanes player.
Especially how we've talked about how he's
that's just insane to think about, that he could hit 106 or go to 120. Yeah.
Yeah, especially because he garnered a lot of frustration and criticism previously, but to see how well he's playing now and how everyone's like, this is what we've been wanting. This is the potential that we saw that you had, that we've been waiting for. So honestly, like every time he touches the puck, I can hear people around me when I go to the games being like, that's the star player. That's Mr. Like, he's the best in the league. Like, watch what he does with the puck. And before, I'm not going to lie, anytime he would get the puck in previous seasons, it was like, okay, he can do something, but like, is he going to lose the puck? Like, what's going to happen? But like seeing him play, like he has his spin moves and he has all his fancy stuff, but his back check, his way to get back on defense at the puck, I've never seen anything like that previously from him. And it just makes me so excited every time he's on the ice, much like with Jarvis. Like Jarvis will get the puck, and yes, he's got some great offensive talent, but his defense, you can just see he's putting in effort on both sides and he's getting rewarded for it, just like Natchez. So honestly, I'm very excited to see what this rest of the season has in store for Natchez, if this is where we're starting at and like people are taking notice. They took notice earlier because he had the potential. Now you're seeing the potential in effect. And I think it's making the Canes really glad that they gave him another opportunity, because there was a lot of talk last season about what was going to happen with Natchez. Is he going to stick with us or not? And I think the Canes are like, this is why we wanted him to stick with us. This is what we wanted to see so that we can see more of this. So I'm very again, it's just kind of the Martin Natchez show recently, especially with Svech and Aho getting a little bit of their slumps out of the way. So in terms of the upcoming games with the Capitals, Rangers, and Preds, what are your thoughts on this Capitals team, Zach?
Okay, to be fair, Kat, none of us picked the Capitals to be where they're at right now. Like, we all had them missing the playoffs in certain aspects. Didn't expect them to be playing as good. They do have the best goal differential in the division right now. I mean, what can you do? While we have played the same amount of games as them, they're only 3 points ahead of us, which it's, and they just lost back-to-back. They've lost 2 games recently. And one of them was a comeback loss against the Chicago Blackhawks, so they were up 2-0 in the third period. So you could potentially going into a upset Caps team, but you're putting yourself into a good spot where it's another Metro Division showdown, a very huge point swing coming up, because you're talking 4 points. If you get a win in this one, now you're within 1. You've played the same amount of games, and you're putting yourself into a good spot. So, I think it's going to be a very exciting game. It's always been exciting, even for the fact that the Capitals are playing so well without Ovechkin, which is crazy enough to think, because you wouldn't think with looking at this roster, oh, yeah, no, the Capitals are going to be a so-and-so team. But unfortunately, they're like just like how the Flyers were last year. They just come out hot and stay hot. But, it's definitely interesting when you look at where they're at right now, but it's a very big game where, you're talking, if you win, you're within 1. If you lose, you're 5 back, which you don't really want to have that separation between you and second place, even if you have a big lead over 4th. But it's definitely going to be a very huge one with, it seems like every Metro game now matters more, because the more you win in your Metro games, the farther ahead you push yourself from the bottom rest, because right now it's a 3-horse race for the division. And honestly, I don't even care if we win the division. Just lock up a playoff spot early and let's just get ready. That's all I really care about, because division titles are great, but we all know what the actual goal is here. But going to Friday, get a win, at least get a point. If we at least get a point, I'll be happy, because you need it, especially where you're at right now in the division. But how are you feeling, Kat, about the Capitals?
So what's really funny is, thankfully, our unpaid intern remembers where we listed them. I think our preseason predictions, Zach, you had the Caps in 6th place. Me and Bailey had them in 7th. And I'm not going to lie, they've been playing better since Ovechkin went out. And I will stick to that. Kind of goes with what my prediction was. I had them ranked so low because they were riding on him and just like waiting for him to hit his big milestone. And then, he's done and they get new youth into the team and they start going again. So it kind of is doing what I thought would happen with this team. But weirdly at a different timeline. Nobody understands the Caps. I don't understand the Caps. Nobody is understanding it. And no. I think we can play with them. I think, yes, they've been on their heater. They've been doing so well, but I think we can play with them. I don't think this is a team that has our number the way Florida or the Rangers haven't before. I think we can play with them. I think they're just on a hot streak. They've got everything flowing. But that was the Canes a little bit earlier this season. So I just think we need to find them at the right time, play our game. If we played the game we played against the Islanders, I think we'll be fine. What's really interesting is the next game that we play is the Rangers, which honestly, all of us, I think, they're kind of switched with the Caps in our brackets almost. They've recently, they're kind of doing...
I think I had them third. I had them third in the division.
The Rangers? Yeah.
I was wrong. I had them first. Did I have them first?
No, you guys gave me such shit for ranking the Rangers lower this time. I had them third. You had them first, and Bailey had them second. And I was like, I don't think they didn't make a lot of changes. They're not going to be coming. Like, there's issues. They're going to have all their contracts coming up. And lo and behold, every time you guys give me shit, I'm correct. So they're lower than third right now, actually. I think the Caps have kind of switched all this up. But they have had a lot of their recent...
six. They're six.
They literally switch. But they're having trouble. Like, so their struggles, I don't think they can figure out what their struggles are, because they have traded away Trouba, which they wanted to in the off season. They were like that. They thought that was the cancer of their team or whatever. I don't know. They got him off the team. Terrible deal from the Ducks. Just literally terrible trade. But anyway, they do that. I don't think the Rangers really get anything noteworthy out of it. Now they've traded one of their younger potential stars of Capo Caco to Seattle. And again, they got a defenseman out of it and some picks. But what are you doing here? And the fact, I think
a former second overall pick.
I think they don't know what to do. I don't think they know what to do because they actually have the stars on the team, but nothing. It's almost a little bit like the Leafs during play. Like, they have stars on the team, but the stars aren't doing what they need to do. So they're like, well, do we just get kind of lesser name and like see if they just fit in and fill in the gaps? Like, they're struggling. They just paid their goaltender a shit ton of money and nothing's happening. And it's that was also to pull back to where we were talking about the Tick and Pyotr and everything. So Pyotr has a bad game or struggles a little bit, and everyone's like, he's not a number one goaltender, and we're having this conversation, whatever. And I put this out, and I didn't get a lot of answers from everyone complaining, but I put this out there. How many legit number one goaltenders do you think are out there in this league? One, that you can get, and two, that you think would really make a much more difference. Because if you look, a lot of the number one goaltenders right now are on struggling teams. And so even if you have that amazing goaltender, it doesn't matter if the team in front of them is falling apart. The Canes have from time to time taken goaltenders that are average or a little bit above average, even going a little bit into great. But because of the team in front of them, the Canes make all their goaltenders look amazing. So I would much prefer that than overpay my goaltender, not be able to pay the rest of my team. And then when the rest of my team is struggling, I'm like, well, I paid for my goaltender that can't save anything because they don't have anybody in front of them to stop anything before it gets to them. Anyway, sorry, I could go on and on about that point. But the Rangers will be interesting. The Rangers will be interesting. We have beat them this season. That was glorious that we got to beat them this season. I want to continue. They seem to be in a spiral. They have had our number in the past, so I hope that we are on top of our game there so that it doesn't give them life. But I'm honestly, I'm kind of not it's weird. I'm not super worried about playing them, but I'm also not super worried that Trouba is going to take Jarvis's head off again. So it's a weird feeling.
Wait, Trouba's not with the Rangers. Wait, Trouba's not with the Rangers. I'm so confused.
I know. That's why I said I'm not worried about it. It's a weird feeling
I'm
not
like,
to be
wait,
worried
what?
about Trouba going after one of our kids. So
yeah. I was just like, wait, what?
yeah, I know he's not there. So I think the Canes could do pretty well against the Rangers as well. Again, though, this is a team that knows how we play. So even if they're struggling, they could get a bounce back against us. And it's at New York. Yes. So that's another. I think it'll be a tougher game than anyone likes it to be. But I think the Canes can pull this one out against a struggling Rangers team. I just think they have to. All the lines need to be producing. They're going to try to nullify the Jordo line. If that line needs to do everything it can for who it's up against on the ice, and then our stars need to come out and be the stars that they are.
That being said, who would you want in goal though? Would you want to be Pyotr or would you want to be Tokarski?
I would want Pyotr
because it's.
I would put Pyotr. I would put Pyotr against the Caps, Pyotr against the Rangers, and Tokarski against the Preds. Who's up the next team up?
Yeah, I mean that makes.
Give him the second day of that back to back. Yeah, I would give. I think. I mean, I don't know if I'd be upset if Tokarski was against the Rangers, because they've played Pyotr. They know how Pyotr plays. They don't know Tokarski as much. So honestly, I would be fine with either one at that point. Now I think about it, I do think the Caps we should play Pyotr, especially coming off his shutout. But I do think I'm fine with whichever one plays against the Rangers and Preds. So they're two struggling teams, and I think our goalies right now feel comfortable enough against either one.
It'll definitely be interesting is the fact you're talking 3 games in 4 days with a day off in between the Capitals and then the back-to-back. So, I mean, either way, you're not going to go wrong with whoever you put in net against the Rangers and then against the Predators. It's how Rod wants to do it in terms of, okay, you have a day off in between. Do you give Pyotr the Capitals and the Rangers for the Metro games? And then it's like, okay, hey, Tech, we'll go with you for against Nashville. It's not a disrespect thing. It's just that we can't play Pyotr that many games in a row. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter how you break it down. I think either way you're going to be set. And, yeah, like it's the Rangers kind of our number. We go to Madison Square Garden. It's a very big toss-up of if the Canes do win there or not. I mean, luckily they did win there in the playoffs. Of course, we're not going to talk about how that playoff series went because that was just oof Maroons. But I think going into the game, yeah, while they're playing really not so great hockey, they're in disarray right now. Even the fan base is just falling apart. Just watch and see how this team's going because it's like, Jury just gives up, a former second overall pick for a very below average defenseman and 2 picks within the late 90s, somewhere in the hundreds. Like you didn't really develop that kid at all. And now it's like, okay, now what? Like you can't just keep trade. Like they got rid of Barclay Goodrow through waivers. You just forced Trouba out of town. You just traded a second overall pick away and didn't really. You got draft capital and a meh defenseman. Like what more can you do right now? Like they have too many overloaded contracts, and then you still have to figure out Panarin and everyone else. So it's not going to get very much easier. And they've lost to the Predators, who we play on Monday twice in the span of 10 days. This is a perfect time. Like you're going to have an angry Rangers team who's in disarray, but this is also a great opportunity to get another Metro win and put yourself even farther ahead of everyone else. So yeah, you're talking this week alone. We are going to be playing 4, going, with the Capitals Friday and the Rangers on Sunday. You're talking 4 Metro games in a row, and you've already taken 2? You got 4. So you have out of those 8 potential points, you have 4 out of a possible 8 already, with the chance to get potentially 2 to 4 more. So yeah, you want to take advantage of these Metro games that we've been having recently. And the thing is, you got more Metro games coming up at the end of next week. lot of Metro Division hockey over the next couple of weeks, and also Columbus on New Year's Eve.
It's going to be kind of interesting. So a big talk about the Canes is a lot of players want to play here. A lot of players want to play for Brenda Moore. A lot of players want to play in this culture. We've heard it from guys that are with the team now. We've heard it from guys that have left the team. Like they enjoyed their time here. Like that's the mentality of being here. It's going to be really interesting as the Rangers try to seek out people, because they've had a lot of guys that they've gotten through rentals or through drafting that haven't seemed to work out, but they also haven't left on great terms. And the rentals, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I think it's a different dynamic. I don't know how many players are going to want to be with the Rangers if that is potentially how they treat their captain. I mean, you name the guy, you put the C on the guy and you treated him like that. Like, do I think he is a great defender? No.
Those are already things that's happening.
But to have that, and like, even if you're a young guy, you're a young potential star. Well, you can get picked, you can get sent out for quite like so easily as well. You're like, you might be a rental. They don't ask you back. So it's really interesting. I think the culture there is a lot more, and I'm very thankful for, again, how many of the players say about how Rod is with the culture. And like, whatever you say about our owner doesn't like to pay X, Y, and Z. He doesn't like to pay the long contracts, but in terms of, they do go out and find guys that they really want to fit the system or like can fit the system from what they've seen. And they've seen it's worked out, guys. Looked at the team this season. A lot of guys you wouldn't think would fit the system, and they've fit in quite well. Honestly, the only one that's like still learning is Walker, but honestly, defense on a Canes team is the hardest to really get accustomed to. So don't really blame the guy. And even now he's getting goals. He's starting to really feel more comfortable. You can tell by how he is on the ice. But I'm just really thankful for the Canes culture, especially in that locker room, how they get the guys, what guys they go for, and how they do kind of make those contracts work. And they don't really like push guys out the door. They honestly give more chances to players than a lot of people would want at times. But again, it pays out. Like, look at Natchez, look at some of the other guys on the team. So it'll be interesting. We've never, I don't remember the last time we really played a struggling Rangers team. So I'm really interested to see how that.
It's been a bit.
Yeah. Honestly, it's also been a bit since we played a really good Capitals team. So I'm getting flashbacks to quite a few years ago. But what's really interesting is we'll be playing the Preds, and we'll get to see our old pal Brady Shea, who unfortunately is playing on a team with the worst record in the league with 24 points in 32 games. And with the firepower and contracts they have on that team, everyone is shook. I don't know if they're more shook by how well the Capitals are doing or how shook by how bad the Predators are doing. That game, unless we get goalied, I feel like we should win that game. But you never know with Saros. Saros has kind of killed us in the past. So I'm a little scared, but I mean, I have high hopes. Like, unless we get goalied, I think the Canes should be fine.
Yeah, it's just, do you take that free space in a former Hurricane scoring against us is the question. If it's Shea, I don't really know, because it's over. I mean, I know Marchessault just scored recently, but yeah, it's like outside of Forsberg, that entire team is struggling, and I think Roman Josi is still out too. So you are down one of your best defensemen, and the thing is, like, I have Saros on a couple of my fantasy teams. His stats are fine. It's just everyone else in front of him is not playing great hockey. So yeah, it's like you said, unless Saros goes super Saros mode, like we have seen him in the past, I'm not saying it's an automatic gimme, but yeah, this is a game you should win just because of the fact that, yeah, the Predators are not playing great hockey. And yes, while they did shut out the Rangers 2 nights ago, it was the battle of who could be mid the most, or I guess the least. So, yeah, I don't know how you really take it. I don't know how you benchmark a game like that where you're kind of like, oof. No, like I said, no. I mean, the Preds are in dire straits, and it's more like they're the prey than the predator in a sense. So it would be very interesting to see how it plays out. But I don't know.
I'm
Like I
honestly
said,
more scared of
no night's a gimme
lower
night, but
place
you got to beat
teams.
them.
I'm more scared of the lower place teams because you never know what's going to happen. Like, you never know if their goalie's going to pop off. You never know if we're going to play down to them or they suddenly are on top of their game. Like, you think you know how it's going to go. And honestly, in hockey, that's the worst because then you're like, oh.
Yeah, basically it's like watch out for Marchessault getting hot, then also watch out for Philip Forsberg doing Philip Forsberg things because the power of that mustache is unreal. And yeah, that is the one guy I'm kind of like, we cannot let him do his thing because if he does, oh no thanks. I have no desire for that.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's not. I'm not slam dunking this as a win, but it's a get it done, please get it done. Because
I will be happy. I will be happy with 4 out of 6 points. I'll be happy with 5 out of 6 points.
I think, like just like we said for this last 3, like the last 3 games of this homestand, where you wanted at least 5, but you got 4, which isn't overall that homestand. You got 6 out of 8 with the win over the Jackets. So yeah, he'll take 6 out of 8 on the 4-game homestand for these 3 games. 4, I wouldn't be upset because especially since we're playing the Capitals, are playing really great hockey. But if you at least beat the Rangers and Preds, fine, I'll take that 4 out of 6. If we lose to the Caps in overtime, I'll take 5. But yeah, the other 2 games you should win. So at worst 5. You'll stomach 4 just because of where Washington is at right now.
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting. I feel like we've mostly in the past got beat by Washington through the power play because of who.
Or
so I think
or overtime shenanigans.
Yeah. So I think it'll be really interesting to see us play them 5-on-5 because again, yeah, they're on a heater, but they haven't given us trouble 5-on-5 in quite a while. So I'm interested to see how that game's going to go, especially with the Canes coming off a really good game here against the Islanders. So, so that pretty much wraps it up. We are going into Christmas week. I hope you guys were all good and asked Stormy for your presents in advance, and hopefully that comes. I know Jackson Blake did. I know that comes in forms of Canes wins. So I hope you all asked for that. But yeah, that wraps up for this episode of the SurgeCast. We are not sure if we will be any episodes the week of Christmas. We do know we'll have the 2 big Devils games and we'll want to cover what happened with these. But again, family comes first. And honestly, do you guys really want to sit and listen to us when you could be sitting and talking with your family instead? Or maybe you need to go on a walk and listen to us and escape from your family for a second. We understand both scenarios. So we will let you know at the beginning of soon if there will be an episode for next week. Otherwise, we will probably be able to talk to you one more time, at least before the New Year's hits, because we got to end out the SurgeCast with one more episode before 2025. But that's it for this episode. Again, we're coming back from a high note, loving that back-to-back win, seeing a new goalie and our number 1 goalie kind of in their element, our stars becoming stars again, our grinders doing what they do best. We're very excited Canes fans right now. It can change in a game, but for now, we're living in high. But Zach, where can everyone find, I'll pair this up. Where can they find you and where can they find Bailey?
Well, first for Bailey's, she wasn't with us. Hope you feel better, Bailey. I know she's been dealing with whatever mile-high sickness has been going around the Colorado Avalanche, apparently. So hopefully she's all right. If you want to check her out, she's on X. She's Bailey Curtis with 2 Y's. Go check out her writing. She does work for the Hockey News covering the Colorado Avalanche. But While she does that, she is also with us here for the Hurricanes type of stuff. I know on Instagram it's also Bailey Lynn Curtis, so make sure to check her out over there. But yeah, definitely check out her work. She does a really great job covering the Colorado Avalanche. I know it's not the Hurricanes, but hey, you gotta support your friends when you can and where you can. So make sure to do that. For me, gosh, where am I not at? And then everyone's probably sick of listening to my voice and reading all my stuff recently. But if you do want to, it's One True Zach on X. I'm also on Blue Sky at the Zachary Martin. I also host the Locked on Hurricanes. Yes, I know I have another show. Don't at me with this. LO_Hurricanes. I do have links in my bios where you can check out my articles at the Hockey Writers as the credentialed writer for covering that team. If not, hockeywriters.com. You can search my author page. It's easy to find. Yeah, pretty simple in terms of that. Just check out the articles, check out the podcast. Like I said, I'm on Blue Sky and X and all of that. Just constantly talking hockey. Kat, where can people find you and the podcast? And our amazing network. Amazing network.
We'll start there. So of course you can find the Hockey Podcast Network at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com. THPN, again, you know that code from all of our wonderful sponsors. We wouldn't be where we are today without them. We're really grateful from getting to work with our wonderful boss, having him on our podcast from time to time, even though he is a Flames fan. It's all right. At least he's not another.
I mean, it could be worse.
He could be a team in the Metro or a team that does well normally. But you go check out if you do happen to have another team if you're like Bailey and you do happen to have another team that you support. There are tons of other podcasts on the THPN that honestly they have a Rangers, they have Blue Jackets, they have so many other. I think someone from Shoresy also hosts one. Correct?
Terry Ryan. Yep, Terry Ryan has his own podcast he's like almost 300 episodes in on that. So yeah. So great
we
show,
really
though.
appreciate everything.
If you haven't yet, Terry Ryan does a great job.
We really appreciate everything they've done for us, but we also love to support our other shows. Listen, we all love when it boils down, no matter what team you do, you all love hockey. So love to check them out. If you want to find us, though, just the SurgeCast, of course, you can find us we're on multiple things, of course. Honestly, just look up the SurgeCast and you'll see us. We're on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube. Like, subscribe, follow, all of those fun things. But really, when we see if you subscribe to us, if you like, especially on anywhere you listen to podcasts, that really helps us because it starts the downloads and subscriptions. It helps us in the long run, and it helps. We do this because we love the Hurricanes and we do it for the love of hockey. But I mean, with sponsors, we do get a little bit of financial backing for the three of us. So support us in any way you can, even if it's in the long run, just $5 at Starbucks. So follow, like, and subscribe.
We also want to pay the intern. We want to pay the intern. That's
really, we need to. Honestly, we really need to pay the intern before the Starbucks. You're not wrong.
Or pay the intern with Starbucks. I guess that works too if you really want to do it that way. He
doesn't like coffee, unfortunately. That would be a very easy fix, but he doesn't like
coffee.
Give
him one of the refreshers then. There's something there for everyone.
Maybe he's very picky. Anyway, though, if you want to find me, I am on X at Caniac Chick, also on Blue Sky at Caniac Chick, and then on TikTok, because I'm going to say Delulu and say that TikTok isn't going to go anywhere and actually be banned. It is at KVT Hunter 74. But yeah, follow, subscribe on all of those as well. But for this episode, I'm really ready for the holiday. I hope you guys all have great holidays and you're so excited for time off. Clearly, we are getting hit with we need a vacation. So thank you for joining us for this episode. And again, sorry if there was any technical difficulties during your listening, but for all of us at the SurgeCast, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next time on the SurgeCast.
Bye.
Ho, ho, ho.